In this video we're going to look at how to factorise quadratic equations. So factorising means put into brackets, and if you're factorising a quadratic equation it means that you're going to have to put it into double brackets, like this. So first of all, looking at the x squared term, that means that the first term in both brackets is going to be just x. Okay. Now if we look at this example, x squared plus 8x plus 12, we know that we want to think of two numbers that multiply together to make 12, but add together to make 8. So as both of the values are positive, we know that both will be positive, so that's fine. So let's think of ways that we can make 12. We can do 1 times 12, we can do 2 times 6, and we can do 3 times 4. So let's now add the numbers together. So 1 plus 12 is 13, so that won't work. We could do 2 plus 6, which is 8, so that will work. So the answer is x plus 2, x plus 6. Okay, so let's look at the next example. X squared minus 6x plus 8. So again, it's x squared, so we know it's going to be x in the first bracket. Okay, so now we've got plus 8, but we have got a minus here. So that means that some of the numbers are going to be minus, but the only way we can make a positive when we multiply two numbers together is if we've got two minus numbers. So that tells us that both the numbers must be negative in here. Okay, so now let's think of numbers that multiply together to make 8. So we can do 1 and 8, or we can do 2 times 4. So now let's add them together to see if we can make 6. And because this time we know they're going to be negative, so it's going to be minus, 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 minus. So minus 1 minus 8 is minus 9, so that won't work. But minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6, so that will work. So the answer must be minus 2 minus 4. Okay. Right, let's look at the next example. So again, we have got x squared, so we know it will be double brackets. And we know the first term will be x, just x in both terms. Now this time we've got a minus for the last number. So the only way to get a minus when you multiply two numbers together is if one is positive and one is negative. So one will be positive and one will be negative. So let's think of ways of making 15. So we can do 1 and 15, or we can do 3 and 5. So I normally write these out twice, so because we know that one will be positive and one will be negative, so you can have plus 1 minus 15, or you can have minus 1 plus 15. And again here, plus 3 minus 5, or minus 3 plus 5. So adding these across, we want to make plus 2. So 1 minus 15 is minus 14, so that won't work. Minus 1 plus 15 is plus 14, again that won't work. 3 minus 5 is minus 2, it's close but it's not quite right, so that won't work. But minus 3 plus 5 is plus 2, so that will work. So that means our answer is x plus 5, x minus 3. Okay, let's look at another example. Again, this is minus 28, so that tells us that one will be positive, one will be negative. So again, it's x squared, so one will be x, and then another x. One will be positive, one will be negative because of a minus in front of a 28. So let's think of all numbers that multiply together to make 28. So we can have 128, we can have 2 and 14, or we can have 4 and 7. And we know one's positive and one's negative, so we can have plus 1 minus 28, minus 1 plus 28, plus 2 minus 14, minus 2 plus 14, minus 4 plus 7, or plus 4 minus 7. So we want to look across and we want the two numbers to add together to make minus 3. So when we look across, Plus 1 minus 28 won't work. Minus 1 plus 28 won't work. 2 minus 14 won't work. Minus 2 plus 14 definitely won't work. Now minus 4 plus 7 is plus 3, so that won't work, but it is 3. But 4 minus 7 will give us minus 3, so that's perfect. So the final answers are x plus 4, x minus 7. Okay, so these examples are a bit more complicated, but not that hard. So first of all, we know it's a quadratic, so we want double brackets. So notice here it's 2x squared. So that means that in one bracket it will be 2x, and the other bracket will be x. Okay, and again we've got minus 10, so that tells us that we want to think of two numbers that multiply together to make 10, but one will be positive, one will be negative. So let's think of all different ways of making 10. We can have 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. So again, one will be positive, one will be negative. Minus 1 plus 10, minus 2 plus 5, or plus 2 minus 5. Now, what we need to think of, is this 2x will be multiplied by this number here, and this x will be multiplied by this number here, and we want to make minus 1. So if we had 1 here and 10 here, we would have 20x and we'd have 1x, and there's no combination that would give us a 1 in any way, shape or form. So it can't be 1 or 10 in that order. So let's just check. If we had 10 here and 1 here, that would give us 10x and 2x. Again, we couldn't make 1 out of that. Okay, so now let's try 2 and 5. So if we had 2 here and 5 here, we would have 2x and 10x. Again, that wouldn't give us 1. But if we had 5 here and 2 here, that would give us 5x and 4x. So we could make 1 in one if we took 1 away from the other. But because we want to make minus 1, that means the 5x has to be bigger. So therefore, it must be minus 5x plus 2. So that would give us minus 5x plus 4x, which would give us minus 1x. So the final answer is 2x minus 5 in one bracket and x plus 2 in the other bracket. So let's try the next one. Because it's 5x squared, we're going to have 5x brackets and x in the other bracket. And again, because it's minus, we know one will be positive, one will be negative. So let's think of ways of making 3. So because 3 is a prime number, the only way is 1 and 3. So 1 will be positive, 1 will be negative. So we could have plus 1 minus 3, minus 1 and plus 3. So that's good. We just need to work out which way round it will go in order to make 2. So if we had 1 here and 3 here, that would give us 15x and 1x, which wouldn't give us 40, which wouldn't give us 2, it would give us 14. So that wouldn't work. So let's try swapping them around. So if the 3 was in here and 1 here, that would give us 3x and 5x. So that way we could make 2. We just need to work out the signs. So we want to make plus 2x, so it needs to be plus 5x and minus 3x. So therefore the plus must go here and the minus must go here. Okay, the other type of example that you might have to factorise is where you've just got something squared, x squared, minus a number. So because it's x squared, that means that it's definitely going to be double brackets again. And in this example, it's just 1x squared, so we know each bracket will just be x. Okay, so all we need to do, because you've got the minus here, is one will be positive, one will be negative. and therefore all we have to do is just square root 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So therefore we will have 3x plus 3, x minus 3. So when we take this out of a bracket to prove it, we get x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9. So can you see the plus 3x and the minus 3x cancel each other out to give you x squared minus 9. So basically what we do is we square root the x squared term, and we square root the number term, and then we just put plus and minus in 1 in each bracket. So let's try this with the next one. So this time we've got 4x squared. So the square root of 4 is 2, so therefore in each bracket will be 2x. Okay, and the square root of 25 is 5, so it'll be 5 and 5, and then one will be positive and one will be negative. So I'll just take it out of the bracket for you to prove that it works. So 2x times 2x, 2 times 2 is 4, so that will be 4x squared. Then 2x times minus 5 is minus 10x. 5 times 2x is plus 10x. And then 5 times minus 5 is minus 25. And the 10x's cancel each other out, so you're left with 4x squared minus 25. So we can see that that works. So the final answer is 2x plus 5 in one bracket and 2x minus 5 in the other bracket. So this is the end of the video. I hope that it has been helpful.